Nvidia shouldn't exist. 29 years ago, Nvidia had just 30 days of cash left. Today, it's worth more than almost every company on Earth. Wall Street almost killed it. Ironically, Wall Street is also the reason it became unstoppable. How? The answer isn't that they built better chips. The answer lies in three insane decisions that Wall Street was convinced would destroy the company. You see, the business world is ruled by a monster: short-term thinking, quarterly earnings, immediate dividends, and relentless cost-cutting. Almost every corporate giant serves Wall Street, except one man, Jensen Huang. And to understand how he fought back, we first have to go back to the moment Jensen thought he was about to lose everything. Nvidia didn't start in a polished Silicon Valley lab. Jensen Huang and two co-founders started the company at a corner booth in a Denny's diner, drinking cheap refill coffee while smelling like grease. By 1995, after pouring all their money into their NV1 chip for gaming giant Sega, the technology failed. The chip wouldn't sell. Nvidia was staring down bankruptcy. Jensen later admitted he was already preparing for the worst-case scenario, the exact moment he would have to stand in front of every employee and tell them it was over. That's when the first insane decision was made. Instead of hiding it to make a quiet exit, Jensen picked up the phone, called the CEO of Sega, and laid all his cards on the table. "We failed. This chip is garbage. But if you don't pay out the rest of our contract, we will go bankrupt." It was a move of pure desperation. But that brutal honesty moved Sega's CEO enough to release their final $5 million. Jensen put every single cent of that money onto a solitary lifeline: the Riva 128 chip. By pioneering software simulation to design the chip instead of burning cash on physical prototypes, Nvidia barely survived. Jensen made it through. But Wall Street quietly wrote him down as a terrible manager of risk. In 2006, Nvidia made a move that drove investors insane. They intentionally made every single chip they sold 15% more expensive to integrate a feature almost none of their customers actually wanted. That feature was called CUDA. Gamers, the only people paying Nvidia's bills at the time, didn't care about CUDA, and our villain struck back. For 6 long years, Wall Street ruthlessly punished Nvidia. Terrible financial reports, stock prices in free fall. Analysts believed he was burning hundreds of millions of dollars. Every shareholder meeting felt like an execution. For 6 years, every passing quarter made Jensen look more wrong. Nothing happened. No major headlines, no celebrations, no exploding stock price. Every quarter looked like just another mistake. Until one research paper quietly changed everything in 2012. AlexNet. Suddenly, the software almost nobody wanted became the software everybody needed. Scientists realized that only Nvidia's CUDA-enabled chips could run their modern AI algorithms. AMD and Intel woke up in a panic, but it was too late. Porting code away from CUDA to another platform would take years. Wall Street's short-term greed had been crushed by 6 years of one man's patience. By 2019, Nvidia was facing a brand new bottleneck. Imagine buying the fastest Formula One race car in the world and then trying to drive it down a bumpy dirt road. That was the reality of AI. Nvidia's GPUs were unbelievably fast, but the network moving data between those chips was ridiculously slow. Jensen didn't wait for someone else to pave the road. He decided to buy the road. Nvidia outbid Intel and Microsoft, dropping $6.9 billion to acquire Mellanox, a company that specialized in data center networking cables. Wall Street scoffed once again, questioning why a chip maker was spending a fortune on a cable company. They misunderstood what Jensen was actually buying. To train ChatGPT, a single GPU is useless. You need 10,000 GPUs talking to each other at the exact same millisecond. Jensen hadn't bought a cable company. He had bought the highway running all of AI. Nvidia was no longer selling individual chips. They were selling turnkey supercomputers for millions of dollars a rack. Data center profit margins hit 75%, a price tag big tech hated paying but had no choice to accept. If you look at Jensen Huang over the past 20 years, he has almost always worn the exact same black leather jacket. Maybe the jacket was never about fashion. Maybe it was about protecting his attention, because trillion-dollar empires are built one strategic decision at a time. Remember the California gold rush of 1849? Most people think Nvidia was selling shovels. Nvidia wasn't selling shovels. They were quietly building the roads that every gold miner would eventually have to use. Remember how we started? Nvidia shouldn't have survived. Maybe that's exactly why it won. Because companies don't become unstoppable by making the right decision once. They become unstoppable by making the unpopular decision over and over again. Business decoded. Nvidia didn't win because it built the fastest chip. It won because it understood something most companies never do. Products can be copied. Features can be matched. Even hardware eventually becomes a commodity. But ecosystems become more valuable every time someone else joins them. CUDA attracted developers. Developers attracted companies. Companies attracted even more developers. And once that flywheel started spinning, Nvidia no longer had to convince customers to stay. Leaving simply became too expensive. That's when pricing stopped becoming a negotiation. Customers weren't paying for a GPU anymore. They were paying to avoid rebuilding everything. AI didn't create Nvidia's advantage. It simply exposed the one they had been building for more than 20 years. The lesson? Don't build products people like. Build infrastructure they eventually can't live without. Because the strongest businesses don't win by selling something better. They win by becoming the foundation everything else is built on. So here's the real question. What are you building today that everyone else will think is pointless until it's too late to catch up? If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, and welcome to Business Decoded.